fives, three hobby case break of Top Series 1. We're on to box number 8 in case number 1. Through 7 boxes, we have 3 colored, 4 colored cards, including 1 acetate and 3 SPs.
We have a good name in a lot of spots nationally, and we can go in and battle for some of the nation's top. We don't win every battle, but we're able to get in some of those.
32 of the first pitch cards. That's right on numbers. Looks like a bunch of other stuff. Slam down some food. Now back to the shred. And sitting with my good friend ESPN 3 on the radio.
With the environment that we try to create here at Ole Miss.
Hugh Freeze, head coach of Ole Miss. Congratulations on another good signing day there in Oxford.
Thank you so much.
Hugh Freeze again, and he wants to know. He's monitoring the stars. He's monitoring where his class is rated. Let's send it over to the guy in the know.
Kohler Gold.
Where's Ole Miss right now?
Ole Miss is doing a very nice job. They're a little bit back towards the teens. Hugh Freeze has done a nice job of giving some consistency since that all-important class that you had mentioned when they were able to bring in Robert Condici as well as Raquan Treadmill. So the Rebels still very much in the mix in a very competitive SEC. But speaking of the SEC, you can see here the class rankings. At number 8 is Auburn. They have put together a top 10 class, but they are still waiting on a very important letter of intent. And that is one from the number 1 player in the country, Byron Coward. I spoke to him earlier today. He had told me 95% Auburn, just wanted to make sure he was making the right decision, and Auburn was where his heart was. He wanted to see what C.C. Jefferson was going to do. Ultimately, we saw the other 5-star defender commit to Florida, but I just followed up with Byron Coward, and he says the plan is to send in the letter of intent to Auburn at 4 o'clock. So now we are on a watch here the next few minutes here to the top of the hour, but the plan is for Byron Coward to go ahead and send in to Auburn at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Craig. Fax machine watch, almost as exciting as fan watch. That's great. What do you make of what we're seeing here from the number 1 prospect in the country?
It's unbelievable. I mean, how could the number 1 prospect not be ready to lock and load and back off his letter of intent to Auburn? It's like he's holding Gus Malzahn and Auburn Tigers hostage right now. But it's going to go to everybody at 4 o'clock. He's going to get it by 4 o'clock. If you hold up all day so far.
Didn't know, then don't hold the press conference and announce to everybody that you're going to one school and then not send the letter. Wait until you're sure. If you're not sure, there's nothing wrong with delaying the announcement. Now you've got the whole country watching. Look, they're 2 great schools. You can't go wrong with either one. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision and trust it. Trust the people that are around you that have helped you get through this process. Make the commitment and do it.
You referenced it earlier. What are the influences that come into play after you go ahead, you go on national television, and you make your choice? That's obviously come into play here. This is a prospect that stated publicly 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I know where I'm going. I'm just waiting for national signing day to do it. When the words came out of your mouth, you know what changed. I agree with you. And it's influence too. You phone out, don't talk to anybody. You made your choice, you felt good about it. Go off and maybe just celebrate. Yeah, celebrate. Go enjoy and celebrate. Big moment. Gonna be an Auburn Tiger the way it is. Yep.
We'll celebrate at 4 o'clock Eastern time. We're there.
We'll see.
When Byron Coward is supposed to send in his letter of intent to Auburn. Let's check in. Stay on the East Coast as we make that segue to Virginia Tech. Brian Steinspring, who is the recruiting coordinator and assistant coach at Virginia Tech. And Brian, how would you assess the job that you and your staff has done there in Virginia Tech today?
Well, we're really pleased the way this day turned out. We've been excited about the possibility of this day for quite some time. This class pretty much has been intact for the last couple of weeks. We don't have the drama going on today that we're very accustomed to having on a normal signing day, which is a nice little relief here. But we're excited about it. We're really happy about the young men that we got coming in here and the gentlemen that have already enrolled here in January. So it's a good day, and we're excited about it.
And we saw Tim Settle there listed, one of the top defensive linemen in his class from the state of Virginia. Considering in the past weren't able to get Josh Sweat or Aaron Brown or Deshaun Hand. How important was it to get this young man Tim Settle in the fold at Vatech?
Well, I think it was very important to get Tim in here. Obviously, he's a terrific football player, and he's a difference maker on the inside portion of the defensive line, and critical to us as a staff to how well we recruited in the defensive line this year. Part of our plan, a major part of our plan for this recruiting class is to
Should probably eat slower because now I'm super full.
go around and have a future in waiting, and we ended up signing 7 defensive linemen, which was a big push for us in this recruiting class, and Tim really spearheaded that part of it, and so we're excited about him and excited about the opportunity to like I said, get seven guys in here to compete for playing time and get ready to continue moving forward.
Brian, before we let you go, maybe the most important update of all, how is head coach Frank Beamer, who's recovering from throat surgery, and that's why he was unable to join us today?
Coach Beamer's doing well. He's been in meetings for the last couple days, morning through the afternoon. He's doing it very well. Appreciate you asking. He's a tough guy, and always has been. And I'm glad that he's doing much better because I had to step beside him in the press box at the bowl game, and that's no fun. I'll be glad to get him back down the sideline. I promise. So he's doing well. Appreciate you asking.
There up in the press box. Brian, thanks so much, and send our regards to Coach Beamer.
I certainly do. Thanks for having me.
All right, absolutely. So Virginia Tech, again, asking the question, you always want to set up that fence. They've missed on some of those top defensive linemen. Here they get Tim Settle.
They get Tim Settle, as Coach referenced, several other defensive linemen. If you're going to take one area of this program that you're going to admire, it's their ability to evaluate and develop. Because they've had their fair share of high-profile prospects, but they're not throwing out bringing in 8 or 9, 10, 12 of them year in and year out. They're identifying what they think is the right fit for Black Spirit, that program, what their identity is, bringing those guys in. And some of those guys might be undersized, but the proof's been in the pudding for over 25 years now. And so you've got to trust that. And Tim Settle, as I referenced, you lose out, on some of the high-profile guys in the state last year, like Deshaun Hand. So you get yourself a big, mean, ugly defensive tackle in the front, and he is active and explosive. We've seen Galen Mack earlier. We've seen Khalil McKenzie with Tennessee, Sky Tuttle again with Tennessee. Another one built in that mold is Tim Settle. And so it's important to keep some of those guys around, but now you've got a good core nucleus of players to join in that class, and they've also got a quarterback that has got tremendous upside in doing well from that forward. It's a huge year for Virginia Tech.
It looks like pink, finally.
Here, and I guarantee you,
That's a nice one. So I know somebody that'll buy it.
Right. He's getting older, the top, and absolutely. He's had a fantastic career, and you don't like it, but it's not the most loyal business. When you talk about recruiting, what goes on, it gets nasty, and people are going to use that against them. But this is a huge class that they need to have if they want to extend Frank Beamer's tenure even more at Virginia Tech, because there already were whispers.
45 of 50 on the pink Dickey.
They've got to start producing on the field. I agree with you 100%. You thought that maybe they would have a better season, especially early in the season. Went down to Columbus, beat Ohio State by 2 touchdowns. You're like, okay, maybe this team is going to get over the hump. But then they struggled in the latter part of the season. This didn't even look like the same team. But then when you have Frank Beamer with health issues too, you know there's going to consistently be negative recruiting out there. So this is going to be a huge year for Virginia Tech. There's no doubt about that.
How would that impact you? Well, I'll ask you that very thought-provoking question later, because we have to move on to Louisville as we stick in the ACC. The Louisville Cardinals certainly putting together a fine class as well, and we're joined by the head coach of the Louisville Cardinals, Bobby Petrino. And Bobby, last year you were hired and quickly had to hold together this recruiting class. How would you assess your first full recruiting class there with the Cardinals in your second go?
I'm really excited about it. I thought our staff did a great job of going out and competing for a lot of players. I think that's the thing that was great to see is that the schools that we competed against, we won some battles and we lost some battles, but I thought our staff did a great job, and I'm excited for the class that we have.
Your top prospect, actually from junior college, Trinity Valley, a guy we're all familiar with, Devontae Fields, former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. What does his addition mean to your program?
Well, we lost a really great pass rusher, and we needed a guy that could come off the edge and rush the passer for us and be able to play the 3-4 defense that we have. And Devontae really fit the need there, and I think we're really excited to have him in our program.
Davion Samuel, as we see there, one of the top athletes in the class as we scroll through your class. You also have a few big-name transfers there, including a pair from Georgia defensive backs, Shaq Wiggins, Josh Harden-Clemens, both sat out last season. How do their additions help you next season?
Well, we lost a lot of really good players in our secondary, but we have Josh and Shaq that have both played in this defense, been very successful in the SEC playing in the defense. And we're able to practice with this all year long and then give them a lot of reps in the bowl preparation. They're both very, very good football players, very good athletes, and will really help us with our leadership in the back end.
Now, back in your first stint, this team, this program was transitioned from Conference USA to Big East. Now you're in the ACC. How has this move impacted recruiting?
Well, it puts us in a different pool, you know, and I think when you look at that, you have to really compete for some of the best players in the country. I think the evidence on that is we had 58 guys that visited our campus this year, which is the most I've ever had. So it's something where, you know, we know we're going to be battling with some really good schools. We know we're going to have great competition in the recruiting trail. But we're going to get right in it and work extremely hard to get them on campus, which gives us an opportunity to get them.
Louisville, again, with two ESPN 300 prospects. Out of their 20 overall, head coach Bobby Petrino entering his second season there in Louisville. Thanks so much for joining us, Bobby.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Kyle. So Louisville, again, when you couple transfers, Devontae Fields, and this incoming freshman class, how do you assess it?
Well, I think a couple of things to note here. Louisville's done a great job as a university and as an administration of upgrading facilities, enhancements to the stadium, continually keeping up with the Joneses. They have made a commitment for football to be great. Now let's talk about the other side of this thing as it relates to Devontae Fields. Now, this is a player that signed out of high school at TCU that wasn't just the Big 12 freshman of the year. He was the Big 12 player of the year as a true freshman. And this is the type of player, and we talk about this all the time when we're recruiting. We're on air for 11 hours today. When a guy doesn't pan out or something doesn't work, it's not generally because of a lack of skill set or a lack of talent. Isaiah Crowell is no longer at Georgia because he couldn't play. Michael Dyer was no longer at Auburn because he couldn't play. That's the same that goes for Devontae Fields. So the choices you make, how you conduct yourself, how you mature, do you learn your lessons? And then when you're given another opportunity, like Bobby Petrino has afforded Devontae Fields here, can you take advantage of it, capitalize on it, help Louisville, but then long-term, help yourself too, because he's an NFL caliber talent. And so it's always good to note that we can talk all we want about these guys' skill sets, but who they are and how they conduct themselves and the choices they make will ultimately determine all of their fates.
Yeah, and look, Bobby Petrino, he's a guy who's getting a second chance himself at Louisville from his mistakes that he made, offering it to Devontae Fields as well. And this is just a sensational young athlete. And I'm with you, Liz. I mean, I think everybody deserves a second chance. But if you're Louisville, you keep it a really tight rope that he's on. That he's allowed to do. If there's one mistake, you have him get him in counseling to make sure he's getting the help he needs to get through some of those issues that he had. Anger
Braun,
issues,
Jersey.
make sure and you do, no matter what, if kids have a pass or not, you do have to babysit college athletes to some extent. You have to make sure they're on a tight schedule. Try to get them the help he needs, and if you can take advantage of this second chance, it'd be a great turnaround story. I hope it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, to keep you up to date, he was dismissed from TCU following a misdemeanor assault charge involving his ex-girlfriend. So he does get the second chance. As you guys said, we all know the culture we're in football and how sensitive a topic that is. Certainly, eyes are going to be on Devontae Fields coming up at Louisville. All eyes are on those Crystal trophies. Again, a few won by Nick Saban there at the University of Alabama. We'll hear from the new quarterback, very true, Blake Barnett, #1 pocket passing quarterback. Coming up in just a little bit.
Of course, actually. Watch this.
All right, let's see you in the box 8. Hoping for something exciting. Box 9 or 10 or 11 or 12.
Hair-raising power and performance of the Mercedes-AMG GT. It's no fairy tale.
Introducing the City Double Cash Card. It earns you cash back now and cash back later with 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay. With 2 ways to earn on purchases, it makes a lot of other cards seem one-sided.
Dove Men Plus Care. Cares makes a man stronger.
Miracle Female. Sunday at 9 on ESPN.
Louisville, Virginia at 7. Then number 1 Kentucky, Florida. Saturday on ESPN.
Malcolm Butler and Julian Edelman. You and the New England Patriots just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?
The beginning of the college football playoff starts with signing day. Today on ESPN. College game. You are watching ESPNU National Signing Day Special, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That puts him at wide open a 44-yard hookup, and that's a record set. What a great job by the freshman, Allen.
This kid's a competitor. He's big.
Lefty, 10, 5, touchdown.
46-yard run, and it was a beauty. Looks it downfield. Intercept, touchdown, Miami. What a drive, and what a start for 19-year-old Brad Cobb.
Watson wants to go back to the air. Boy, he's fired it, isn't he? Touchdown. Watson's first move over the middle. Freshman to sophomore. Obviously, some great quarterbacks here in college football. Some youngsters as well. Here are the top dual threat quarterbacks. You saw Deshaun Watson in the video, top dual threat quarterback last season. Again, Kyler Murray, top quarterback, top dual threat quarterback headed to Texas A&M. DeAndre Johnson, part of that quarterback coup there with Florida State, along with DeAndre Francois. There you see Joe Burrow headed to Ohio State. When it comes to pocket passers, you see Blake Barnett committed to Alabama, number 1. Josh Rosen was a one-time number 1. He's headed to UCLA. Or you see Grady White headed to Arizona State. Jay Brown, Washington. Washington. And then to round out the pocket passers in the top 10, there you see Ricky Town, the one-time Alabama commit, went to USC, opening the door for Blake Barnett there in Alabama. Certainly the Tides gain. He also may be a multi-sport athlete. Please worth giving up.
Okay, I've had enough of this. I'm getting schooled at Papa Shot by the #1 rated quarterback prospect in the country, Blake Barnett. Blake, I've been told that since you got on campus, you have added 12 pounds to your frame. What have you done in the weight room?
The strength program is really made a big difference here. And alongside that, the nutrition, that's a big part. We're eating a lot more, we're being fed protein shakes, and then the hard workouts is going to help as well. So it's been a big difference, and it's improving drastically.
A year ago, one of my stories in college football was the development we saw in Blake Sims as a result of this work with Lane Kiffin. What impact did Coach Kiffin have on your decision from here?
Obviously, an offensive coordinator is going to have a big impact, and along with Coach being the quarterback coach, it made a big difference. You can see a couple of years ago when he was at USC, he had a bunch of quarterbacks that he put in the NFL. And that obviously makes a big difference because that's all of our aspirations is to hopefully get to the NFL. So that made a big difference.
Now, you deemed yourself Recruiter of the Year, if you will, with a post on Twitter, thanks to the you did with the #2 rated running back in the country, Damian Harris, to commit here to Alabama. Tell me about the secrets to your success in recruiting and how you help stay successful.
I always have that fun a little bit on social media, but yeah, it's been a thing I kind of pride myself on just because I've built a lot of good relationships with some of these top athletes in the nation, and obviously when we come to Alabama, we want the best players with us. So once you build a friendship with them, you kind of let them know that we want you here because we want to get more we want to when you look at a player like Damian Harris, it was a big hit for us, and I think the friendship I built with him along with the recruitment I put into it, I was kind of happy from the day.
Well, Blake Barnett, the top-ranked quarterback in the 2015 class, one member of the 24 guys, a part of the top-ranked recruiting class. I don't have a shot.
Well, that was
In a row right there. Man.
Yeah. Okay, so we know he's good with the mini basketballs. What about with the college-sized football? How do you assess quarterbacks and evaluate them?
Well, I think there are several factors that you got to try and investigate as best you can. Mental toughness, athleticism, certainly competitiveness. Accuracy is a critical one. I think measurable standard, whether it was 6'2" or 6'3", that's no longer the case anymore. More and more opportunities now for the 5'11", 6-foot guy because of the spread offense, because of the shotgun, the ability to find throwing lanes. But more than anything else, there's lots of guys that can throw. There's lots of guys that can run. But what is the end result? And then how does a guy respond to adversity when things aren't going his way? So we can talk all we want about physical tools. Now, if you're a coach and you're evaluating this position and you're watching on tape, the number one thing you're looking for is delivery mechanics. Can the guy get the ball out? Does the ball pop off of his hand? If it does, then that's something you're going to want to pursue. The interesting thing about Blake Barnett in this class is a deceptively good athlete, almost in a way that Jameis Winston is a deceptively good athlete. He looks like a pocket passer, but he can run. He's lanky, he's long, he's covering a lot more ground than you think he's going to. And then from a delivery standpoint, kind of has delivery mechanics. You see it right there, a little bit of a long drawback, but did you see where the ball ended up? He's always hitting the strike zone. So at the end of the day, when you continue to watch him, where the ball ends up and moving the chain to me is coming off position. Now this guy is a completely different animal because he is everything you want that you'd like a 6'4" guy to be in a 5'11" package, and all of the competitive traits that you'd like to have at the quarterback position are present. He's one of those players that steps in the huddle and makes everybody around him better. Kyler Murray has never lost a football game in 3 years. He's routinely played in front of crowds of 30, 40, 50,000. He's got a great sense in the passing game. He's an anticipator of when things are going to break down and when to break and get out and create second opportunities. If he was taller, I'm not so sure he wouldn't be the best guy we evaluated in the last 10 years. Now, Jarrett Stidham is going to bring some athleticism to Baylor's offense, but maybe the smoothest stroke of any quarterback in the category this year. He can really rock it in. He's got great wrist velocity. You're going to see the ball come
I had a printing plate, I think.
tight.
Just what I said I didn't want to hit.
With a lot of confidence and swagger. He too, like Blake
Yeah.
Barnett, is a guy that can take off
Brandon
and
Belt.
run if he has to. He can make some plays with his legs. You don't always think that's going to be the case. And then next
Brandon Belt, black printing plate.
Creates a second passing opportunity. We've seen that successful with Baylor before in RG3. So, Danny, you and I want the dynamic.
There you go, Bazoo. There's a printing plate for you, man. Always get them.
So now you see all these different varieties of offense and the different shapes and sizes that are now afforded to different quarterbacks that might not have been 15 years ago.
Yeah, if I was recruiting a quarterback, I would want to sit down with him and his coaches and find out what type of leadership skills he has. And that's one for me that I would want to see, because at some point, this is going to be the face of your program. This is going to be a guy who's going to lead the players in the summer workouts when coaches aren't allowed to be out there, when he has to lead the passing drills outside with his recruits. I think it's a great sign. We saw Blake Bennett. He's out there recruiting guys. He's taking some initiative there. You love that. So it's a lot more of the intangibles, because you can see the guys, they're big, they can throw it. A lot more of those intangibles. And much harder to judge. Yeah. Those are what make guys special.
I agree with you guys. Repetitive accuracy, number one. I don't care. And the ability to throw different styles of balls.
Right.
Vision, decision-making, leadership. Just about that is.
The one thing I would say about these guys is they do have to do different types of things, but not necessarily in every offense. And so that's what you really got to investigate.
You look at pocket passers versus dual threat. You look at the map. We'll talk about that later. But most of those pocket passers, highly rated, come from the West Coast. We're going to head to the West Coast right now for our latest announcement. We are going to a football factory. It is Long Beach Poly, and there we see Joseph Wicker, top 20 defensive tackle in the ESPN 300, number 172 overall. There we see the hats down at Arizona State, Texas Tech, and UCLA. Joseph, it's all yours. Pick a hat. Where are we headed?
For the next 4 years in my college career, I will be attending Arizona State.
Arizona State picks up the highly coveted defensive tackle.
Scherzer patch.
What was it about Arizona State, Joseph?
It was based off my visit. I had fun. I was very elated while I was there. I love the defense I ran. The head coach, he just kept it real with me, and I love that. So.
Your head coach there at Long Beach Poly, Antonio Pierce, spent 9 years in the NFL. How did he help you get to this point?
He really just set goals for me, and all I tried to do was just exceed them. And based off that, that's just really how everything happened.
Nearly 140 tackles from that defensive line, nearly 18 sacks. What was so different and great about this season for you on the football field?
Our team were very disciplined. We made no mistakes. We did everything right, or we tried to do everything right. And we made everything fun. It was fun. We just did it.
Joseph Wicker, number 172 overall in the ESPN 300, headed to the desert, Arizona State. Joseph, thanks for sharing the commitment with us, and best of luck at ASU.
Excuse me, can you say that again?
Best of luck at Arizona State, Joseph. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Very good. So, Joseph,
What a retard.
You know, it's interesting. 2 years ago, I was broadcasting his Arizona State game, and I was looking at the 2 deep roster. I think, Coach, I mentioned this to you. And they had 2 players on the entire 2 deep that were taller than 6'1". But what they had a lot of was speed, quickness, and athleticism. And so along the defensive front, you remember guys like Will Sutton, if you're a Sun Devil fan? You bring that explosiveness, first step, that bowling ball mentality, powerful off of the snap. Those are the types of players that Todd Graham and his staff have been accumulating. They've hit the market quarterback. They're doing a nice job in state with some prospects, and then going out of state. Look at the far reach, Louisiana, Virginia with athlete Jason Lewis. This is a really good class for the Sun Devils. And you add another position along the defensive front to a team that revamping the defense got so much better at the back end of last year than they were early on. So you got to be pleased in Tempe.
Joseph Wicker is so excited. I don't know if he's excited to get it done or excited to talk about Arizona State.
I don't know. Jump up, get that hat ready. No drawn-out drama there from Joseph Wicker. Now, 4 high school prospects in the top 300 for Arizona State, all of them from the state of California. Obviously, in the Pac-12, that's where you got to mind the town.
No question. And then most of that's in Southern California.
Right.
Talk about that. It's farther away from Oregon, Washington. But the reality is that's why teams like UCLA and USC, even though UCLA is going national, USC still, they tend to draw people late because you're going to get the late signees, the West Coast guys.
Arizona State feels like a program that's really close. Like they're close. They're getting there. The pieces of the puzzle are there. They had a great season last year. Creeping that top 10, start making some noise, and you just feel like they could get to that. Where they're going to punch through and get to that. Where they get a Pac-12 title or something good really happen.
They set their sights on USC. They model themselves. They say, we can do this. We can compete with them. They're close enough to that area. And I know they're athletic directors. They look at the models, the whole thing. They're attacking. They're saying, that's all good.
Back-to-back 10-win seasons there for Arizona State in the game. Just the fact that Todd Brown in just a little bit. We're going to get an update in just a little bit as well. Practice and Fort Howard. We still have one more of our top 10 players.
Box 10.
Their commit in Iman Marshall. We do have an update on National Signing Day. The letter is in. We got a fax? We got it. We don't have the fax noise. You got it? Or Gus has it? I don't have it. I would have shown it hours ago. I don't know if Gus has it. Yeah. Byron Coward, the #1 overall player in the ESPN 300, announced, 6 hours ago? Auburn, we have a fax. That he committed to Auburn. Now the letter is in. Let's send it over to Craig Halbert with the very latest. Craig, the drama is over.
Hey, Matt, I told you that the plan was to send it at F4. Did you think I would steer you wrong? Byron Coward has done that. He wanted some extra time to think about it since that initial announcement this morning. But as he had said, Auburn was the place that he felt was best. He just wanted to make sure that his heart was there. And 4 o'clock at the time, he had kind of targeted to go ahead and sign and send it in. And that is, in fact, what he has done. Does not impact the class ranking for Auburn. Coward had already been accounted for, but now for Auburn Nation, a little sigh of relief because that letter of intent is in, and he is officially a part of that 2015 class.
Maybe now we know why defensive coordinator Will Muschamp in the video of Byron Coward's announcement where he picked up the hat, he was the one that just had his arms crossed for a few seconds. Verbals mean nothing. Letters of intent mean everything. Ryan McGee has been standing by on the plains all day with Auburn. Gus Malzahn. Ryan, we can put a bow on Auburn here, at least when it comes to the top-rated player.
Yeah, I just left the press conference, and yeah, I understand that Craig knew. I knew he wasn't steering us wrong. Next year, I'm gonna make him come here and sit with me as we sit and watch the practices all day. I know it to go down, but there was an obvious look of relief on Gus Malzahn's face, and they have played it very cool here today. They've talked about they're confident. They were confident this morning. They've been confident all day. He was going to be in-house when they started 2 days before. But in the end, they were very relieved, Coach Gus Malzahn did when he walked to the podium just a very few moments ago. All right. #1 prospect. That's it. The drama of signing day, at least the main portion of it, is now over as Byron Coward.
I really miss it a lot. I'm going to tell you.
Your hair color will stay what hair there is.
Yeah, a little bit of
On our set here on National Signing Day. All right, so the #1 player is in at Auburn. We're waiting for the #1 cornerback to announce his decision. There's some video speculating about where he is committed. More on that in just a little bit. But Iman Marshall out of Long Beach Poly, high school teammate of Joseph Wicker, who recently committed to Arizona State.
It just seems like guys are just pouring out of this school. I mean, there's so many great players out of Long Beach Poly. Now, Iman Marshall reminds me an awful lot of Florida State defender Jalen Ramsey. In terms of stature, strength, size, scheme versatility. Ramsey, too, started out as a corner, then moved to the inside, can still play out on the perimeter. I really believe that Iman Marshall can play in a variety of roles as well. Keep in mind, this is the school that produced Juju Smith out of last year's class. We just saw Wicker along the defensive front. So loaded talent out of Long Beach Poly. Always has been, likely always will be. But it's, again, at a premium position that everybody's looking for, everybody's coveting, and probably the one remaining real high-profile guy that's become a national recruit in terms of who's trying to pursue him, whether it's Florida State, whether it's LSU. You've certainly got the California schools, so it's going to be an exciting one for somebody. You talk about the premium position, the offenses that people are running now.
Oh,
You
man.
need depth now. You don't need one or two
Match up.
You need 3 or 4 to bring out several guys who can match up when the other team goes empty wide receivers. Especially got 4 and 5 athletes out there you have to defend. So the more you can get them, the better you're off.
And he's got length too, so he can match up with even the taller athletes and say, I've got this guy, don't worry about it. He'll shut down the whole time.
All right, here's Iman Marshall, the number 1 corner in the ESPN 300, number 4 overall player. He heads back to Long Beach Poly, the college football factory, as it is. Iman Marshall, number 1 corner, standing by. And Iman, there's video circulating of you already having committed to USC and putting on the hat. Is that where you're headed?
First off, I'd like to thank my friends, my family, most importantly, God, for putting me in this position. And I'd like to thank all the coaching staff and Long Beach family for supporting me and helping me become the player that I am today. I just want to thank everybody. But for the next 4 years, I'll be being a Trojan.
The USC Trojans winning the afternoon portion of signing day so far and keeping the number 1 corner in the ESPN 300 at home. Iman, you paid a visit to Michigan, to LSU, a couple other schools as well. Why was it USC?
I mean, it was a tough decision. There was a lot of great programs out there. At the end of the day, I talked it over my friends, and I talked it over my family, and we touched our bases, and SC was a fit for me. At the end of the day, and I thought that was home. I got to bring Natty back to Los Angeles, plain and simple.
We've got former high school teammate there, Juju Smith, doing what he did. Adoree Jackson there at the quarterback position as well. You've seen just as recently as last season the impact freshmen can have there at USC. How much of a factor did that play in your decision?
It played a big factor in my decision. Seeing that I can come in and contribute to the program early, and see that I can come in and play with a cross side of Adoree Jackson, playing the back of Stuart Taylor. You know, just be a legend at one of the smart colleges in the nation and bring LA back to the promised land. Get a national championship, bring it back, and we're going to make it happen.
Iman Marshall, hey, whether you're the number 1 defensive tackle, defensive end, corner, recruiting becomes a very big deal. What can it do with recruiting process to realize, this recruiting process is a very big deal?
When I was young, I understand how important it was, and making sure I got my eyes across my teeth with the recruiting process. That's why I waited so long. Make sure I had all my answers. I had all my questions answered. Most important, that was a big thing on my behalf. I didn't want to second guess anything. So at the end of the day, that's why I waited so long and just talk to my family. And just most important, thank God and ask God to show me the way, and that's what He did for me.
Iman Marshall, number 4 in the ESPN 300, top 5 prospect, top corner in the United States for high school football. Iman, congratulations to you, and thanks for sharing your moment with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Right on.
Iman Marshall's nickname is Biggie. That could also be the adjective to describe the pickup for USC.
That's a big one. I mean, this is one I think a lot of people expected, though, too. So when you consider the afternoon, you consider the players that were remaining on the board. We know what's taken place with UCLA to this point, but the remaining targets that SC coming into the day was saying, we have to end the day with these guys on our board. I think they've accomplished that job well done at this point.
This team is going to be a trendy pick next year. Connor Kovacs are coming back. I know they lost leading rusher, leading wide receiver, but they've got all this slew of talent coming in now. This team is primed to make a run. I think this is going to be the year that USC could really put themselves back on the scene as far as, big picture.
And they still are going to need some freshmen to step in and play some valuable time for them. But they've proven they can do it. Especially we talk about the fact that running back, wide receiver, and even sometimes corner, you can get on the field early and have success.
It wasn't about talent at USC, simply about depth. That continues to be remedied there at USC. You can't accuse us at ESPNU of East Coast bias.
It's the West Coast Central. Well, anyway.
Oh, we know that. There's a hashtag out there. UCLA in the morning, USC in the afternoon. Holly Rose standing by in Southern California. Holly.
Well, USC is now making a bid to be the #1 class in the nation with Iman Marshall signing. He was a little funny. He released a 3-minute video via Bleacher Report, and it was like a Hollywood epic. It should have an Academy Award. It was so well done. I don't know if he edited it or who did, but they should work for ESPN or Hollywood. It was so great. He has a big addition, though. 6'1", 195 pounds. He's a hardworking kid. He prides himself on his work ethic, and he is someone who can come in and make an impact right away, given his skill set. He is a player on both sides of the ball, very athletic, talented guy that USC is thrilled to have. And I know that UCLA made a big statement earlier today with Snoop Dogg saying that he's tossing away all his USC doors, but I just wanted to point out that Dr. Dre gave $70 million to USC to start up the Academy of Arts and Technology and Business of Innovation Communications program here. So a lot of guys going to that field learning how to be as successful as Dr. Dre. They have 70 million reasons to be okay with Dr. Dre. Now let's go out to Notre Dame and Paul Carcaterra.
Well, Holly, Iman Marshall certainly was a guy that Notre Dame really wanted early in the recruiting process.
Lyles Black.
South Bend, they struck out on him, but they didn't on 24 other players signed lettered of intent. Coach Brian Kelly has monster depth back in 2015. More starters back than any Power 5 conference team, but this recruiting class, a top 15 class for a 5th consecutive year, there's some big-time skill position players in the mix. Running back Dexter Williams, big, strong back out of Florida. He has home run hitting ability. Brandon Wimbush is a quarterback, the 4th-ranked dual-threat quarterback. People really aren't talking much about Wimbush as part of the discussion in the quarterback battle between Everett Olson and Malik Zaire.
Glad to hear it, man. What's your name on there?
Typical type quarterback that can make plays from the pocket and he's got the speed as well. So a perfect fit for Brian Kelly's offense. And you look at the trenches, they address that as well. 3 offensive linemen in the ESPN 300. So the trenches have been addressed. Skill position players. Will this depth, though, coincide with making a push for the college football playoff in 2015? These young studs certainly will help the cause. In Baton Rouge, Nicky Noto, what's on the docket?
Thanks, Clark. Well, things are winding down here in Baton Rouge.
Haven't seen you post much, but I'm glad you're enjoying it.
An hour ago, when 5-star wide receiver Tylen Johnson's paperwork became official, he was the #1 athlete in the state of Louisiana. He was the 3rd best receiver recruit in the country. And when I talked to recruiting coordinator and running back coach Cindy Wilson about this kid, he said he's the next big thing. He's the real deal. He even uttered the words Odell Beckham Jr.
Machado Patch.
His official visit, they let him put on Beckham's uniform, and you better believe he wants to rock that #3 jersey this season. And in other LSU news, they told me that their needs were met, and they said that they aren't concerned that they didn't get a linebacker or a defensive tackle in defining day.
They look alright. It's a little tough to tell the difference between some of them.
And they got that with
I keep on feeling like I'm missing inserts and whatnot, but
so for more on Texas A&M, let's go to Casey.
I'm sure I missed something along the way at this point, but I don't know.
Thanks, Nikki. Here in College Station, early this morning, Kevin, someone told me that he may expect a few surprises, but in fact, as the day winds down for the Texas A&M football staff, that did not happen. No one flipped away from Texas A&M, but no one signed that they did not expect. Kevin, someone reined in 25 signees, including 11 from ESPN's top 300. One of those guys, an extremely important part to the signing class, is defensive.
Let's see in the box 10. Back in a few minutes.
Improvement on the defensive side of the ball. Another guy that was very important to this signing class was quarterback Kyler Murray. And even though there was a little bit of drama surrounding his commitment to Texas A&M, the quarterback will be in maroon and white next season. But Kevin, someone says
Be back in a few minutes, man. Just hang out.
To get these top prospects on campus and to develop the talent that he already has. A very important part of this recruiting process, Kevin, someone says, is the hiring of defensive coordinator John Chavis.
He said it's been extremely important as they look to add depth to the defensive side of the ball, but also to get better on both sides of the ball. One of the things that he said to me when I asked about his extremely successful class was, how do you feel like you stacked up against the rest of the SEC? He said while he knows it's an extremely good class, in fact a great class, he's still not happy with where they're ranking against the rest of the conference, and that's something that he wants to see improve each year. For more in the SEC, let's go to Tuscaloosa with Kaylee Hartung.
The advantages for recruits to enroll early anywhere across the country are clear. You get familiar with your surroundings. You get a semester of classes under your belt. Well, here at Alabama, the work their 8 early enrollees will put in this weight room will have the greatest impact for their on-field development. I spoke with Scott Cochran, the heralded strength and conditioning coach here at Alabama, as he tells me the work ethic of their 8 early enrollees is unparalleled. It's everything he could ask for. As for number 1 ranked quarterback in the country, Blake Barnett, he has added 12 pounds to his advertised 6'4", 200-pound frame. The bigs, particularly offensive guard Brandon Kennedy, the number 5 prospect at his position, have lost from 15 to 20 pounds. Scott Cochran told me that the drill he's most interested to see guys perform in this facility is the power clean. He looks at their ankle flexibility. I cannot begin to explain what all that ankle flexibility begins to teach him, but it's the details, the work that players put in this weight room as early as 6 a.m. 5 days a week that can make a difference in their development at Alabama.
Back here in Tallahassee with Coach Jimbo Fisher. Coach, the recruiting day is over. This particular experience done for you, how would you rate how this class is for you, and what should we expect from it?
Well, I think it was a great class. I think we went all the way across the board in every position in the class. I think that's very important because you have to have balance offense, defensively. You don't ever get everybody you want, but we got most of the guys we needed, and we got some really significant guys on both sides of the ball we think can make an impact pretty early in their careers. But others will. That's the thing we don't know about these guys. Let them develop and let them see. But I was very happy with the class of the guys we wanted, and we targeted early in recruiting, and it was a great class.
You're losing 2 cornerbacks to the NFL draft. You bring in 2 really good ones today. How important is that?
Oh, I think it's very critical. I mean, you build depth of Arth McFadden and Marcus Lewis. Both those guys are big-time corners. But then you have other guys on our team coming back with Marquez White and other guys. You know, Jalen Ramsey's a big-time corner. Trey Marshall play nickel. We have so much versatility. We recruit guys that can play nickel and safety and corner all in our group, and there's a bunch of guys like that. So I think our secondary will still be very talented, but we're very pleased with the group we come in, especially the safeties, Derwin James and the group.
Next up, spring ball. What are your chief concerns heading into the spring?
I think you have to identify your identity. See, I think every team, I say this all the time, has a 1-year life expectancy. This group of guys never plays together more than 1 year. So there's always people who come and go. It has to develop this identity of what it is. I think we got to get back to the basics and get our toughness back, on both sides of the ball, and let this group identify themselves, who the leaders are going to be, what the identity is. Is it a running team? Is it a throwing team? Is it a blitzing team? Is it a man cover team? Is it a zone team? All the different aspects and goes into it. But we have plenty of talent. We're a very talented football team and very young, which is very exciting for me. The great guys to coach.
One last thing. You and I had a long conversation yesterday. I broached what it's like to know that some of the kids you bring in here are 3-year plans. What's it like to know that going in?
Well, I think it's big. One, the impact they have. But you got to be careful not to put too much pressure on them early because you're getting so many outside forces. You got to make sure you put them in situations early in their career where they're successful and they don't lose confidence. You can't just throw them out there because they're talented. You got to make sure they're ready for that moment. But you also have a plan. A lot of these guys have that plan now. So we have a plan in education that have them graduated in 3 years and to be able to move on. And if they're in that plan, that's great. If not, they stay the 4th or 5th years. But you got to be careful with that plan because you don't want to put them in positions to fail and lose confidence.
The top 5 class yet again. Congratulations, Coach Jimbo Fisher. And as we head into the spring for the Seminoles, the big question mark is the quarterback position. This gentleman tells me that's a wide open competition. Guys.
Thank you, Marty. Florida State certainly benefiting in recruiting from their on-field performance and successes, as has Michigan State. Head coach Mark D'Antonio joins us now. And coach, back-to-back top 5 finishes in the polls. What has this recent success meant to your program in recruiting?
Well, I said that today in our press conference. We're at a point right now where we're selling the results of our program. We're not having to sell hope anymore. I think when we came here, that's what we were selling. We were trying to get to that point where we were go to bowl games and get to the point where we'd be a top 5 program or those type of things. Those things have happened. We've won a Rose Bowl, we've won a Cotton Bowl, we've been a top 5 team, been the top 3, a number 3 team, So we've got continuity here. Our administration has continuity, very well supported by our board of trustees, and we've got facilities that have been built. Just over the course of time, these last 8 years, we have just made amazing strides.
Sorry for that.
All those things, I think, point towards the direction that we've gone, and it's helped our culture.
Back
here,
again,
developed
box
a
11.
history here of really good people, and
Let me
people want to be a part of that. I think that's what's happened.
twist again these 2 crappy hits that I have.
LJ Scott, obviously the quarterback, Brian Lewerke. You mentioned the reach now, perhaps, of this program, and we see the initials 2X for Texas on some of your players. You hadn't had a prospect from the state of Texas since 2007. 3 of your top 9 players, according to our rankings, are from the Lone Star State. Why is this trend occurring?
I think everybody has different reasons that they decide to come to a school. One guy has his family's from up here, has relatives here. Another young man wanted to play in our secondary. We've got Quezonard, who graduated, and he was the number 1 pick for the Bengals last year. That Trey Williams is going to go out. He's a very, very powerful number 1 pick. So you've got the 2 corners who played for Michigan State the last 2 years at number 1 picks. He wants to be a part of that. So he takes a bus up here in the summer and falls in love with the place and commits to stay the course. And you got a young man who's from one of our coaches' high school and sees him as a role model. So there's all different reasons. I think the most important thing to me is that we identify people we wanted to have here and guys that we got up on campus to visit. They came, they committed, they maintained their commitment.
Nice to get a player out of the state of Ohio as well. As we mentioned, running back LJ Scott, top 10 running back, top 100 player. Coach D'Antonio, thanks so much for the
Trout,
congratulations on the
whatever
class
it's
and
called,
your
foil.
New Year's Day bowl win in the Cotton Bowl. That was fun to watch. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for having us on. Go Green.
At Michigan State and Stanford met in a Rose Bowl a couple of seasons ago. Mark D'Antonio alluded to the Cardinal coming off an 8-win season and a 3-game win streak. Head coach David Shaw joins us now. David, how would you assess this 2015 class that you've in?
I'm really excited about it. I know everybody across the nation is excited about the guys that they have, and we're no different. We've been able to find, first and foremost, some of the best student athletes that you can find that are available for us to find. I mean, these guys are great kids. These guys are great students, and they're great football players. We believe on the offensive line, we've got great depth. Some guys that are towards the best in the nation at their positions. We believe on the offensive side, we've got 2 outstanding backs coming in, a really good combination, as well as some receivers that can.
Any good Reds cards? No, I don't think so.
And just play the game of football, and a quarterback that we think is going to lay the hammer like a Stanford football should. Stanford football fullback should. And defensive line wise, we've got a couple great guys coming in, versatility at the linebacker position, and an outstanding secondary that we just can't wait to get on campus.
Those 3 top 4 tackles, you lose Andrew Pete, offensive tackle to the NFL, but your coaching staff remained intact despite rumblings that a couple of them maybe trying to be lured by Jim Harbaugh there at Michigan. DC recruiting coordinator Lance Anderson, strength coach Shannon Turley. How imperative and important was it to keep those guys in the fold?
Well, it's a shame that things get leaked on the internet that don't actually happen. But that's what happens nowadays, and that's fine. The bottom line is our guys do a great job here, and when you have success and you have a great track record like our guys do, you're talking about 2 guys that are close to best in the nation in what they do.
I'm sure I hit some gold or whatever.
From different people, and those aren't the only 2 people that got attention from someone outside of this place. So we continue to do things right, continue to do things the right way, and do them very well. People are going to come after us, but the bottom line is we've got continuity, we've got guys in house that know what they're doing, that can help these young men reach their potential. And I'm excited to get going with these new guys coming in.
This will be the 6th straight season Stanford has had a top 40 recruiting class. Congratulations, David.
Everything's for sale. Yeah, or I guess I could trade stuff also.
The 4th straight season, Alabama
But I can only trade stuff that's big. I can't really trade the small stuff. It doesn't make sense shipping-wise.
Well, Coach, I know you don't like to talk stars and recruiting rankings, but the fact is you're holding your 4th straight number 1 recruiting class. The 3 classes before this one have averaged 12 wins a season. How do you get this class from here to there?
There's another acetate, Jordan Lyles.
Not to focus on what their rank
cars they got, but how are we going to develop them so that in 1 year?
So I hit a black Sogard and a black Lyles and a acetate Sogard and an acetate Lyles.
How hard they are willing to work and be a part of the program here.
Like I said, I never hit the good players. Can't complain. 2 acetates.
I'm sure there'll be some guys that'll be able to make an impact next year.
Out of last year's class, we saw Cam Robinson and J.K. Scott go on to be freshman All-Americans. Who are those guys in this class?
Dude, do you want a good Reds lot of Topps Finest and Topps Tech? I'll sell you everything that I hit in my last group break. That was my spot.
We have a lot of guys that can add depth to our team and actually can compete to get some playing time next year. And I think we do have some guys that can make a significant impact at wide receiver, running back, maybe in the defensive secondary, maybe at linebacker. So there's a lot of opportunity here for a lot of players.
We didn't hear any screams out of a war room. No cheerleaders were brought into the facility today. Your celebration with each of your 24 commits came long before today. What advantage is it for you in this program that today was able to be just another work day?
No, I'm not sure it was just another work day. I mean, we were excited about the 16 players that signed with us today, but it is true that these guys made commitments long ago, and it says something about them and their maturity to sort of know what they're looking for, know what they want, and stick with it. And that's a little bit of a disadvantage because the guys that switch and change get a lot more attention than the guys that are stable and just know what they want and choose a place and stick with it. So I'm very pleased that all of our guys did that, and I think it speaks volumes for the kind of people that are.
How was Robinson and Tuscaloosa today? I think that's just the way you like it,
I had a little bit.
And I'm sure we won't get to learn much more about it. Thank you, Coach.
Interesting. That comment did not go unnoticed. But hey, the guys who kind of waffle a little bit will be covered today. These covered the process. A little more attention. Guys who stick with the process, maybe they get their attention on the field. He's not going to answer that question about who are the guys that can be All-Americans this season. But Tom? Yeah, come on. We got 2.5 hours left on the show. You're going to talk about
easy, man. Last year, I mean, Cam Robinson, the need to have the offensive line, that guy was a rare guy, and he came in was as advertised. I think when Coach Saban is trying to stay there in a nice way, there's too many unknown variables. Nobody has a crystal ball. You don't know how kids are going to adjust to this new environment that they're in. And Dan, and we're going to touch on this now, you wanted to touch on the early enrollees and how big of a deal it is to get acclimated academically, socially, be responsible for having to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to those workouts, then go to study hall, then go to class, then go to a meeting, then go to treatment, then go to practice, then go back to study hall. And nobody's going, hey, wake up in the morning, come on. You're on your own now. And all of those things are going on while you're expected to be this great player. And that's one of the reasons why coaches can't answer that question. They may have an idea of who they like and who they think will come in, but they're not going to know.
It's such an advantage to get that early enrollment, get a whole semester on your belt. It's almost like a mini red shirt here because you get in, you get used, you get acclimated to the speed, to the program, to the names. I went into Florida State, and I'm still swirling trying to call out, backup offensive linemen. It was just still learning their names. My head was on a swivel. I didn't know which way I was going to practice, what drill was next. This time, you get in there, you have a little breathing room. There's not as much pressure. The coaches are more relaxed. You can go in, you can learn at a slower pace. It's not like, they're putting a fire hose up to you and just throwing everything your way. It's a little bit more calm, relaxed. It's such an advantage for these kids to get that head start.
Mid-year enrollees don't need a mentor because they don't try to fall camp and match with the entire team. Right. A lot of times, if you have 5 or 10 of them, you don't put them with each other. You
Gold
put them with a sophomore,
American League wins leader.
That understands where they have to go to get to class, to get to practice, all those type of things, because they have to have accountability and responsibility. It's absolutely, it's tougher at that. It's great for them when they survive it. But it's it's total immersion. Like they're going to class now, taking a full load, doing the listening for the first time. And it's an interesting deal. They have to learn on the fly.
Not really excited to search the sparkle that I probably hit somewhere along the way down that I didn't find yet.
It is Nick Saban at the University of Alabama. There is the University of South Carolina in Columbia, the head ball coach. He's going to stop by and chat with Lee Strong, who's on site there in Columbia. Coming up is our signing day coverage rolls on.
Right now, you can get a great deal on a 2015 Honda Pilot.
But can't pass my Tuesday test.
What's your Tuesday test? So that's your Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesdays are pretty slow.
The Honda Pilot clearance event is happening now. Hurry
Felix
and get a great
Gold.
deal on a 2015 Pilot, built to handle even your busiest days.
Hi, my name is Susie, and I've had a stroke due to my cigarette smoking. I now need help with feeding, dressing, bathing, even going to the bathroom. Sometimes it's
Cash
people who work here, sometimes it's my son Daniel. My tip to you is enjoy your independence now.
You can quit. Talk with your doctor. For more help, call 1-866-NY-QUITS.
Everybody has a dream.
Mine was to see the ocean.
And with a little help.
I'm in.
Charlie Blackman auto.
This is the moment I knew. His future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Time is running out. According to my calculations, 1 in 5 kids in America struggles with hunger. How can so many children face hunger when there's more than enough food to feed them all? You're right there. We can help solve hunger by teaming up with Feeding America to get food to hungry kids in communities across the country.
Hungry and Feeding America local food banks get food to the people who need it in your community. Find your local Feeding America food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome back to ESPN Young National Signing Day Special, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, box 11 down.
ESPNU and ESPN 300 prospect committing to Wisconsin. Arrington Farrar, safety out of College Park, Georgia, number 283 overall. Commits to play for Paul Chryst and Wisconsin. Actually, just the third ESPN 300 commit for the Badgers since the 2010 class. Arrington Farrar from College Park, Georgia. Craig Howard standing by with an update on another Georgia prospect. Craig.
Yeah, Matt, National Signing Day always full of surprises. We've had one letter of intent situation put to rest with Byron Cowart in Auburn. Now we're looking at ESPN 300 linebacker Roquan Smith. We saw him earlier this morning announced for UCLA. You mentioned a young man out of the state of Georgia, but some things have been shifting around. The UCLA is in the midst of potential coaching change on the defensive side of the ball. We have reached out to Roquan, and what he has told us is I haven't sent in my letter of intent. I am still deciding. So not technically opening things up, but he has said he has not sent in that letter of intent and is still thinking things over. So we will see where things will go from here. in regards to Roquan Smith.
Box 12, last box, case 1.
So we'll see how that turns out as well.
Greg, who is this the best news for? And are we thinking Georgia here?
Yeah, I would think that way only because of the home territory. You got to think about this commitment. He committed to a program cross country at UCLA. Obviously, there was something about the program, the job that Jim and his staff did to get Roquan Smith to buy in, and he wanted to go across the country. But obviously, with the change to the defensive staff, that has him rethinking things a little bit. And ultimately, Georgia will be playing with the home field advantage. We'll see how it plays out, but it's certainly good news because ultimately, Georgia's still in the race. Where had he found out other than 10, Georgia would be out of it, and he would be headed to UCLA. So, like they say with the lottery, you got to be in it to win it. Right now, Georgia's still in it.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. We'll keep tabs on that. Perhaps Georgia gets another top prospect. May happen today, may not. We'll let you know if that happens before we're off the air. Ohio State putting the final touches on another top 10 class with Urban Meyer. Quinn Keswick standing by in Columbus. Quinn.
Yeah, it was an entire team effort today here as Coach Meyer brings in 27 student athletes. You go back this morning, 6 a.m., their first winter workout. Coach Meyer spent a lot of time on his phone talking to recruits and their families. At one point in the workout, he actually pulled running back Ezekiel Elliott out of the drills and onto the phone to talk to a recruit. Well, that recruit ends up being Mike Weber from Cass Tech in Detroit, right in the heart of Michigan country. Weber signs with the Buckeyes, and it's been a great day here. They, originally slated to sign about 25. They pick up Isaiah Prince, an offensive tackle from Washington, D.C., and they pick up K.J. Hill, an excellent wide receiver from Little Rock, Arkansas. This group is defined by size. Coach Meyer describes them as big. 6 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen, throw in the mix 2 quarterbacks, Torrance Gibson and Joe Burrow, and all of a sudden, potentially, when training camp starts in August, Ohio State could have 6 quarterbacks in the room. Unbelievable challenge awaiting Urban Meyer, but this class solidifies their status on top of the Big Ten. Right now, we'll swing things over to Pedro Gomez, who's standing by with Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of that team up north.
All right, thank you. Coach Harbaugh, your first recruiting class in 5 years since you were at Stanford. How did it go for you?
It was a very exciting day. It was for a lot of programs and for a lot of young guys who worked very hard to earn the scholarship.
What's the next step now?
It was with our football team. We got meetings with them tonight, and we're steaming toward spring practice.
And the recruiting process from a year from now has already begun, hasn't it?
Yes, everywhere identifying players are making offers. We've seen a lot of talented football players out there for next year and I think 2017.
You signed 3 big offensive linemen. How much of an emphasis was that for this season?
Yeah, it's a big emphasis every season.
What needs to happen for the offense at Michigan to get better? Because you guys scored less than 20 points per game this past season. Obviously, you weren't here, but a lot is being relied upon your offensive capacity that you've done.
We're trying to get better in all areas. Every phase of our program, offensively, special teams. Work to do there. Defensively, we had we had a very good defense last year. We want that to be better as well. So we're trying to get better every year.
Coach Harbaugh, congratulations on your first recruiting class in 5 years. And now for more on Penn State, here's Britt McHenry.
Oh, Scooter Gennett. There's somebody on Bloods looking for that.
And the dust has settled. Here's a look at Penn State's recruiting class by the number 9. That's how many out of ESPN's top 300 recruits the Nittany Lions landed. 13. That's how many in-state commits Penn State was able to secure, only missing out on 1 player they targeted. And 11. That's how many defensive players are in this recruiting class. As wide receivers coach Josh Gaddis told me, it's like we have a new, fresh, entire defense coming in. And on the other side of the ball, Gaddis said they have 2 physical, big, Megatron-like receivers in Juwan Johnson and Irvin Charles. As head coach James Franklin told us, there's a rejuvenated type of energy now that they have those scholarships in state college. Britt McHenry.
Thank you, Britt. Big Ten showing well, at least with Penn State and Ohio State. The SEC always shows well. 12 of the 14 teams in the Southeastern Conference currently in the top 25 class rankings, including South Carolina. The head ball coach, Ryan Lee.
Hey, Schropp here with the head ball coach at South Carolina, Steve Spurrier. Recruiting Day 2015, pretty much in the books for you guys. What did you accomplish with this class?
Yeah, we had all committed, said they were coming, and they got up and signed their papers, so we didn't have any television guys to put the hats on and so forth. This is an excellent group of players. We really feel like we've helped our team. I think we've signed like 16 defensive players, 14 offense, 1 kicker. So hopefully we'll field a little bit better team next year.
Talked earlier in the day about addressing the pass rush. How do you feel you did that today?
Well, hopefully these guys are really going to help us. That's something I believe they will. We were near the bottom of the nation with only 14 sacks last year. So everybody knows to stop passing things. You got to put pressure on the quarterback. And we've got 5 or 6 defensive end type players that we think are really going to help. Shanique Blackshear, Devontae Covington, Marquavius Lewis, and then also we have Boozy Whitlow, Dexter Watkins, Dante Sawyer. So a bunch of guys we think are pretty good players.
As you look ahead to the spring and also the fall, what does the quarterback situation look like for you?
Well, we signed a young man, Lorenzo Nunez, from the Atlanta area that we think is eventually going to really be a good player. Could he come in and play as a true freshman? Just have to wait to see. We got some players here on campus that haven't played hard at all. So spring practice will be interesting around here. Michael Scarnecchia is a redshirt freshman, Perry Orth, and Connor Mitch, 3 of them.
That foil card actually looks really cool.
Run a little Wildcat stuff. So our spring practice will be very important for a lot of players.
We know you're not opposed to having multiple options either at that position, right?
Well, one guy played it all last year, Devin Thompson. But obviously, the quarterback and those who the line is so important nowadays. You can help the line very well, as well as throw the ball. So, yeah, the dual threat quarterback, that's college football.
We look forward to seeing how that all plays out. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, South Carolina coming up a little bit short in their preseason goals last season. Boise State did not coming off a Mountain West Conference Championship. Head coach Brian Harsin now joins us, coming off a 12-win season. Brian, give us your assessment of this class.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate our coaches for doing a tremendous job building relationships with these guys. It really came down to that towards the end. There's a lot of action going on in the last 48 hours. And, a lot of guys that were really interested in these guys that we signed, and the relationship, kept this class together. If you look at it, though, all these guys in here are great people. We filled needs in the defensive backfield. We're able to get, a little bit longer and bigger on the offensive line. Signed 2 very solid linebackers, and we got some guys on campus right now. We've got quarterback, 2 safety and corner, and then obviously the tight end position is one that we feel like we do quite well with Boise State. And Reynolds here, the running back coming in here, the 30 guys, Parker, it's big, for us to be able to get him in. So if you look at it across the board, we're very excited. All these guys are tremendous people. The character very high, and these guys are going to help us, continue to take Boise State to another level. And this is really what, we hope we had a chance to really set out to have an entire recruiting period to get these guys to come to Boise State.
You mentioned the quarterback there. You've got 4-star quarterback, according to our evaluators. Brett Rypien, nephew of former Super Bowl champ quarterback Mark Rypien. How does nephew compare to uncle?
Well, you know what? Hopefully we're going to find out. Hopefully it's very close, because that's a guy that played very well at the highest level. I think Brett's a guy, when you look at Kellen Moore and watch his success, and Kellen ended up being the winningest quarterback in college football in Washington. Brett's going, hey, that's a system. I like the way that he was developed, and I see myself coming in there and having success. And I think that's really the key. He really fits Boise State. He's a student of the game. We were here at 5 in the morning with some of these guys that came in from Florida, and here's Brett Rypien, about 6:30 a.m., in the building studying, getting yourself prepared for spring that's going to be coming up here in about a month. So, really like his intangibles, and that he's here on campus now, graduating early. It's big for us to be able to keep him up to speed and hopefully in the mix soon.
Sure, Bronco fans love hearing the
Multi-gold.
shown from that commitment. 19 commits in this class. Brian Harson. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, from Brian Harson to Dan Mullen now. We welcome in the head coach of Mississippi State. And Dan, 10-win season, a season that saw you ranked #1 at one point early on in October. How did that season resonate on the recruiting trail?
I think it really helped for us because, I think guys that around here, especially down in the South, that have seen our program, have seen how we.
Josh Donaldson patched to have the last quote-unquote hit of the case.
Even this year, Penarcher from Kenny Preston Smith, that was big signing day names.
Unless something special is in here, but that would mean I beat the odds, and that doesn't happen.
Really well. But now I think the fact that we got to be #1 in the country, that we were in discussions for the playoff and the national championship hunt.
Pretty rough one, I think. 2 acetates, a 101.
The #1 at one point, you get the #2 safety in the ESPN 300, Jamal Peters. Just so happens to also be the #1 player in the state of Mississippi. How imperative is it to win that state year after year?
Well, it's huge. There's great talent here in Mississippi. One of the things in population, we're not the biggest population state, so those top players, there's a lot of competition for those guys. We're surrounded on all sides by SEC states, and we have another school in our state that we have to deal with in recruiting, where we're competing for all these guys against. So a guy like Jamal that comes in as an instant impact player for us is going to be huge for us. He's going to have the opportunity to get on the field early with our depth at safety, and he certainly has the athleticism to do that.
We saw Leo Lewis there, and he's a guy that has reached.
Nice, man. Oh, I hit, what were you looking for before? You were talking about somebody. I hit something that you were talking about before.
Where sometimes you don't know where he wants to go.
I think it's always tough. Leo's from Brookhaven, Mississippi, a small town in southwestern Mississippi.
All right.
Comes on these young kids, and all of a sudden,
Gonna post this last box to Instagram.
Spotlight. I think that's a lot to deal with sometimes. So, when you get all the excitement, you get to visit all of these different campuses. I think that's always, it can really weigh on young men. But one of the things about Leo, I think, he's been honest with me.
No, something else.
The recruiting process, and that's one thing I appreciated from him. There was always constant communication, always openness in what was going on, what he was doing.
You were asking about a team, maybe?
About him and,
oh, no, here. This.
There's a lot of great players from Mississippi going to Mississippi State.
Belt printing plate. You're looking for printing plate.
Right there. I want to be a part of that family. I want to get developed as they develop players. And down the stretch, that's what he decided to do.
4 of the top 6 players in the state of Mississippi.
Gonna make a quick blowout post on my box break section.
Yeah, great to be with you guys.
Our thanks to Dan Mullen and Mississippi State. Again, a banner season, 10-win season just this past year.
You are watching ESPNU National Signing Day Special, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
You better have a jet pack under that joke. Of course, actually.
What twist? Who's your turn? Huh?
Introducing the car racing power and performance of the Mercedes-AMG GT. It's no fairy tale.
Double coverage? No problem. Triple coverage? Yes, please.
For a limited time at Pizza Hut, get the triple cheese covered stuffed crust pizza. Order a large for just $11.99.
Now that's game-changing flavor.
Only at Pizza Hut.
Let me stop the recording. I don't need to record myself doing this.